So Todd, we just watched the new movie Dolly.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about who made Dolly, and then we're going to talk about the movie Dolly itself because there's a lot to crack open with it. And yeah, it's good to watch a new horror flick, man. And if I can say, a new old horror flick,
Yes.
because there's definitely a lot of influences on its sleeve.
So
But go ahead and talk about the making of
yep,
it.
so this is directed by and co-written by Rod Blackhurst. This was originally a short film that they ended up turning into
Mm.
a feature-length film. Primary shooting of this film was, in the mountains of Chattanooga, Tennessee. It looks really cool, the whole setting and everything like that. It was shot on 16 millimeter, so that's I love
Yeah.
the fact that it was shot on 16. Once I heard that fact, I'm like, I'm gonna watch it because it's like you don't really see that a whole hell of a lot anymore.
And they wore it loud and proud in the credits. Proudly shot on
Yeah,
16
which I
millimeter.
do
Yeah.
appreciate. So, and this is your kind of backwoods slasher film, and it's it has a lot of interesting things. I mean, it's not heavy on plot by any means, but that's what's good about it. Like it's a quick 82-minute runtime slasher film with a memorable slasher. Uh,
Yeah. There's we don't have to go through it beat by beat because we don't want to spoil anything. But to put it simply, it's your pretty basic setup. You got a couple. You got
mhm.
Stifler. What's
Sean
Sean
William Scott,
Sean William Scott? I always want to say Tom Everett Scott. Sean William
Ma-
Scott is with
Chase, and then you have Macy, Fabian Therese. I don't know how to pronounce her name.
and she's got a daughter, and they're together, and he's taking her to this overlook in the mountains, or like in the woods, which never spells good for these kind of movies. And he's taking this isn't a spoiler because he's taking her there to propose to
Yes.
her. So, and the movie starts off that
Mhm.
way. Like they're basically just dropping off her kid. All right. So they go to the overlook and the movie just
Mhm.
starts. It's just, it's your classic setup of they come across something in the woods they shouldn't have come across. It's very much influenced by obviously
Oh,
TCM.
absolutely, absolutely.
And there's a few movies where it's
Mhm.
very, very, very heavy handed and where its influences come from. But the cast, I knew nothing about this cast going into it. I will say that Ethan Suplee is in the movie, and when I saw him, dude, I didn't recognize him at
Mhm.
first. It took me a couple of minutes, and I'm like, "That's Ethan Suplee." Like, it finally clicked, and he to me steals the
It
show.
was great, yeah.
I think he's the best actor in the movie, and my opinion on the flick is if you like sort of I'm usually not a fan of these movies that go out of their way to look old.
Mm.
And I know they shot on
Mhm.
16 millimeter, but they still made it look old. They still made it, look a
Yeah, but
certain
they
way.
didn't oh,
And
they
it
didn't throw it. I mean, they still had cell phones and stuff like that in the beginning and all that. I mean, there's
which to me was weird. No, I'm saying like when I'm watching stuff with like cigarette burns and shit, and they flip up cell phones and they're doing FaceTiming, it was a little jarring for
mhm,
me. But I will say I settled into it after a few
mhm.
minutes. You just don't care anymore. But anyway, it's trying to look like an old roughie and a lot of handy
Yep.
cam. Like it's a lot of shaky handheld camera stuff, which works for it. Um, it was enjoyable. The gore
The
was
gore was
good.
awesome, dude, I thought.
the There was a couple of scenes in particular, they use digital to their
Yeah.
benefit.
Yeah.
Like, there's a particular effect, involving a
Mhm.
mouth that they clearly had to do some digital
That was
erasing and
cool,
stuff
though.
like that to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some shots where it didn't look very good when they hung on it a little too long, but it looked good. It looked all right. And but I'll tell you, there's this one scene, guys, where let me get to the overall the synopsis of the film is Dolly. They come across Dolly in the
Yeah.
woods who's obsessed with
Mhm.
dolls. They're like all over the place, and basically it's a survival story. And the main girl is kidnapped by the Dolly, and she basically is just treating her like a baby. And all the stuff you do with babies, you change a baby, you birth the baby, you feed the baby. And there's a scene involving breastfeeding, dude, that a legit kind of what actually grossed me out more than
Mm.
breastfeeding? There was a scene involving drinking curdled
Oh,
baba, dude, a
yeah.
curdled, and I don't know why that was making me fucking just
That
gag
was great.
because you could see the
Oh,
chunks in there,
yeah.
dude. And I'm like, it's probably just oatmeal. It's probably not even gross, but it was
Well,
grossing
that
me
and
out, man.
that's what's
More than
cool about this film is very unsettling in parts, and I mean that's even better. That some horror movies can actually do that. Like you're saying, I liked the gore was cool. There was some like severed head action stuff like that, and it was man. I love the killer, dude. I love Dolly, dude. I think she's creepier than hell, man. Um,
and I didn't know. I just figured, oh, okay, they got a man to play the doll. Like that's a classic move, get a big burly guy, but it's not. It's a I don't know. It's a non-binary wrestler. I don't know what circuit they're on. Uh NWA or something like that. But it's a big hulking monster. She's
Max
scary,
the
man. Or
Impaler,
they're Max the
yeah,
Impaler.
Impaler. Sorry,
Impaler,
Impaler.
dude.
Ugh. Paul,
Chevy
Paul.
Impala. But they're scary. Well, they go by they them,
Yeah.
so they're scary. But yeah, the character was pretty imposing, and but of course, but if I have to criticize the the acting is kind of par as far as the movie it's trying to be. Like I said, if you
Mhm.
watch this kind of movie, it's like, oh, okay, it's like a 70s old roughie or something. You're not expecting great acting, I guess. So Sean William Scott, he's a good enough
Yeah.
actor, but you could tell they had him for a couple of days and they kind of, he's throughout the movie for
Mhm.
sure. But like it's really about his girlfriend's
Mhm.
character. She's like the main driver. And he's doing a good job, but you can kind of tell he's just kind of reading the lines. And Ethan Suplee is fantastic.
Mhm.
I think he's really good. He's the best actor in the flick. And yeah, Max the Impaler, obviously, she has no verbal lines, or they have no verbal lines. But as far as playing the imposing character, great job. Our main actress is the weakest actor in the film. She either over acts it or under acts it.
And she didn't bother me that
It
much.
doesn't bother me. I'm just, come on, guys. You guys don't pay me to review this. I'm supposed to do that. I'm giving you my honest
No, no,
reviews.
no. I'm saying it. I didn't notice her being that. Like I could see Sean William Scott with some of that in the beginning. I think he got better after something happened to him. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely different parts in this film. Like towards the I'm not gonna spoil it. Ending, it just gets kind of different. Like there's some weird things that happen, but overall, I it's pretty artistic when it came to that stuff.
It doesn't hurt this kind of film.
No,
I'm not trying to knock
no.
it, but I'm just being honest. I'll tell you, Ash was a terrible actor in Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell, he overdid it and whatever. In the first movie, had a bunch of bad acting. Doesn't mean the movie's not good, but it was a little
Mhm,
uneven in that regard. So, like for example, I just think the girl's
mm.
reactions were off. Like when she sees like our killer for the first time, she doesn't act like somebody really would
Yeah,
at
freaking
all.
out more.
She's like,
Yeah,
no, she's not freaking out at
yeah.
all. It looks like that's their 40th
Mm,
take, and she's not at all. She's kind of over it.
mhm.
So her actions are kind of
That makes
delayed,
sense.
and
I
like I
didn't
said, like she underact, and then also just some of the choices she makes of okay, when she first runs into our character, not a spoiler, she runs into our character in the woods because they all meet the character in the woods, and she sees somebody
mhm.
else, let's just
Yeah,
say a guy from American Pie, and she goes back to the campsite or the site, and she's not like more urgent. She literally stops and she finds, something in her
mhm.
bag, and she's like just kind of pontificating.
Yeah. No, I got
And then
yeah.
the killer comes like, dude, fucking bitch, run.
Mm,
Like,
mhm,
run. He's like, you guys are not in the middle of outer space. Run. You can outrun this person if you just run, get help,
mhm.
run. And then when she is being held captive in the house, which is basically most of our movie, it's survival. You can even see it in the
Yeah.
poster. Like that's supposed to be her in the
Mhm,
crib, right? Um, when she's in the house and whenever we meet a character like Ethan Suplee, I feel like she doesn't make rational decisions. Like, hey, great, go get help. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? It's just causing like a domino effect. But that domino effect is what makes the movie, and the actions that happen. But if you like really grimy movies that are really brisk, This thing is like
Yeah.
82 minutes.
It's
And if you cut out the credits, dude, we're talking like 72 minutes, 75. It's a brisk walk in the
mhm.
park. Um, it was enjoyable, you know? It was enjoyable. And the little things that I'm nitpicking, they didn't make me not wanna watch the movie. It's not like that. Like I said, it's kinda par for the type of you could easily pass it off as, "Oh, we meant to do that. Yeah, we're trying to capture the charm." Like, "Okay."
For an indie slasher film, I think this is one of the better ones I've seen in a long time. This would go up because I think I don't even want to say it. Um, I think that they could do more with this character. Let's just say that. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what they're planning on doing, but I think it'd be an awesome idea to keep rolling with this. Because I mean, you look at like a Terrifier or something like that, like an Art the Clown. I really like the actor or they them of Dolly because I think it's very effective. Dude. It's creepier than hell. That porcelain mask is awesome.
One word, lactation.
Yes.
I will say though, what this movie really has going for is a lot of spirit.
Oh yeah.
You can tell it had a lot of spirit in the making of it. The director again,
Rod
and
Blacker's, yeah,
co-writer,
and
yeah,
Brandon
y
Weevil.
you can tell he's not somebody that is just using the horror genre to get a footing. You can tell this guy's passionate about the horror genre. And like I said, this movie's kind of an amalgamation of like 3 movies I can
Mhm.
think of, you
Yeah.
know? And, and that's not a bad thing. I like I said, I usually really don't like the notion of these movies trying to emulate old movies. I'm always of the mind where it's like define your era, define your era. Like we're struggling in this era, whatever the current era is. Like make the Hereditary of your era. You know, like a movie like Hereditary did that, for example.
But it's
But
a slasher.
it
Yeah, I
but
completely
it's
agree, but
but
it's a slasher.
it's a junk food. Yeah, it's junk food. It tastes good. You know, whatever. It's not uh, yeah. So what do you give it? You seem to I think you like it a lot more than I do. I do, and I thought it was solid, you know?
I mean, I liked it a lot. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I liked it that much.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I would
Yeah.
own this film. I'm happy to purchase this film, and I would recommend people seeing it if they're into slasher films and into gore stuff like that, newer stuff. You want a cool little slasher film that is kind of like a Terrifier esque. Probably not as gory as Terrifier, but
Mhm.
definitely has that feeling of kind of low budget and I would say go see it. I really liked it.
Oh, by the way, like I said, in the scale of what we're talking about here, this stuff is kind of par. There's one character you're introduced to for a brief moment, kind of reminds me of the party man. And another thing where it's like, oh, there's a lot of like, what the fuck? But why do they do this? But again, that's all Friday the 13th
Mhm.
is. Why is this character
Yeah.
doing that? Why are they going upstairs? Why are they doing this? So, like I said, it kind of fits. And this guy's like, are you trying to tell me that the local law enforcement has had bodies disappearing and they're patrolling these woods, these park rangers or whatever they are, and they've never come across that big fucking
Yeah.
house? They've never come across this big giant house just kind of there. You know what I mean? And investigated. It's just you got to suspend your disbelief on that a little bit. But did you stay around for the after credit scene?
The after credit scene.
There's an after credit
Oh, I
scene.
don't know if I have to go back and watch that.
It doesn't necessarily
Well, don't say it. I can go watch.
lend itself to anything, but maybe it does. It almost seems like it's playing off like a joke that was in the movie. But you know, there's characters you don't see in this after credits, you know, that they're just
Oh,
being talked to.
okay.
So maybe there's more to it. You know, maybe it's opening the door to something, or it could have just been totally a fun Easter egg.
So yeah, if
Um,
you go see it, stick around for the end credits then, because yeah, I didn't watch that part. I need to go back and see that. Um,
I will say the end credit scene, it's okay because it's at the end. It's at the end of the credits. It's not with the principal movie, but the tone was different. Like it was kind of like it gave me Eli Roth vibes, where it's like they're trying to be funny
mm.
and goofy and like the dialogue, and I'm like, oh, which I'm usually not a fan
Well,
of when Eli Roth tries to do that.
and the reason I appreciate that, I think the reason I appreciate this movie so much is because all we get now is like elevated horror stuff. It's like I want something
Mhm.
that is junk
Junk
food.
food.
I want something that I can have fun with a slasher. And this guy, like, I mean, if he comes out with more movies, I'll go see him because I think he was for a movie like this, I thought he did a great
Well,
job.
give him a budget and see what he can
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, this is obviously low budget. Dude, all the money went to, Sean William
Mhm.
Scott and Ethan
Yeah.
Suplee, and I saw a severed head effect in there that was like, "Oh, that's a good severed
Mhm.
head." It really was. And I'm like, so I feel like most of the money went to the actors, the couple of actors, and other than that, it's your typical, "Oh, okay, we're shooting in the
Mhm.
woods." Because I do roll my eyes a little bit when I see any movie. It's okay, we're doing this because that's like every indie movie. And it
No,
makes
I get it,
sense.
I get it.
It's
Yeah.
cheap, but they had a great house. The house is really
Mhm.
creepy. I'm glad we didn't spend the whole movie in the woods and we took it to that creepy ass like home, man, because it was really cool.
Yeah, very raw, very
But
gritty, very fun. Throwback.
yeah, so my final ranking of it for Spirit, I'm giving it a 6 out of
Mhm.
10. Which is a good. It's a
Mhm.
fun time, and I don't think it's an insult. I think he would 100%. The filmmakers would 100% take it as a compliment when I say the movie's junk
Mhm.
food, because that's what they like and they were going for.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
this is this is not Shakespeare in
Yeah,
Love.
yeah.
They just made a slasher that was heavily influenced
Fun
by like
movie.
three other
Yeah.
a few of their favorite
Mhm.
slashers. So yeah, total junk food in the best possible way. I'd say it's a total watch. For Todd it's a buy. For me, it's a
I'm gonna
watch.
pick it up.
But if you got a Shutter subscription, I'm sure it's going to end up
Yeah,
there
but
fairly
go to
soon because it's in theaters in 2 days on March
I
6th.
say go to the theater, support it though. I mean, I like these,
Yeah,
indie films getting into theaters.
if your city has been selected, because this is not a wide release. There's no way.
I don't know. I'll have to go. I think it is pretty quite a bit of theaters, I believe.
Is it VOD simultaneously? It might be
I
one
don't
of those
think
VOD
so.
theater.
No, this went through the festival circuit, I think, last year. And then, yeah, this is I think it's pretty wide, I believe, for
Yeah. I you know what though? I could easily pass off someone like Sean William Scott, just kind of like, okay, he's doing this one for a paycheck, but he was technically a producer
Mhm.
on it. The producer were the two main act. Oh, actually, all the main actors, and that might have just been part of the deal to get him on. Like, whatever. Probably maybe he didn't really do anything to be a producer, but yeah, Ethan Suplee, him, and our lead female, they were the co-producers.
Wait,
So,
another cool
um,
thing about this, before we wrap up, I was on Instagram looking at, directors, Rod Blackhurst. He was, doing a, Q&A, I believe, and, the person who was showing the film was Fred Durst. He was introducing the film, and I
oh
sent
yeah,
I sent that to you. He was pretty excited about that. I was like, "Wow, Fred Durst was, like, pumping up this film. That's pretty cool." So,
is this what racing means by new horror commentaries? And we need some new horror commentaries. Yeah, man. It like I said, it's a good time and definitely support it. It's good for horror no matter what. And the fact that it's showing in any theaters is
mhm,
good. Go support it. If you absolutely can't, I'm sure it's going to be on
mhm,
Shutter before too
yep.
long and check it out that way. So